Here are two very special interviews for GAD Day, Global Accessibility Day, Apple approved of course, and a special song. So enjoy, guys, and stay tuned for a full episode of the Tech Cove this Saturday, 4 Central, only on www.95-the-mix. Now I would like to take things down to an intellectual level with an interview here at the Tech Cove. Alright, enough silliness.
Okay.
I mean, imagine my reputation. You know that?
I already have.
We're here with Tom Decker, who has, interestingly enough, created how-to for not dummies on an iPhone.
Well, it's how to feel your way around the screens, because what it is a set of diagrams. You can get them in Braille, you can get them in large print, or you can get a version that's both Braille and large print on the same page.
Now, when you say in Braille, the Braille is outlined as far as the diagrams?
What they are is screenshots that depict the most common iOS screens, things you'll see like the lock screen, the home screen, how the settings screen is, how the control centers are, and they even have a separate diagram because obviously the layout of the control center on an iPhone is very different from the layout of the control center on an iPad.
And I hate those differences. I also hate split screens, but this isn't about me. This is about you.
I know, and I hated them too, which is part of why I invented this. Every blind person who ever got an iPhone or an iPad, for the first week or two, learning to relate to touch screens as a visually impaired person resulted in coming very close to flinging the thing off a balcony, crushing it under your heel, etc., etc.
I've never done that on purpose, but go on, this intrigues me. It happened once, but it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, well, having been a rehabilitation teacher, the iPhone came out, and all of a sudden there was a huge demand at the agency where I was working in Toronto. I was doing almost 90% iPhone teaching and about 10% actual rehab teaching, and somebody teased me one day and said, "You're not a rehabilitation teacher anymore, you're an eye-habilitation." It might have even been me who said it, I don't know. Anyway, it came up in conversation, and out of that came this idea, well, people are having trouble relating to the screens, and most people flick. A lot of people do because they're not quite sure how to do anything else because they don't understand the layout of the screen. So once you teach them to flick, that's all they want to do for the first while because they don't understand what's going on. And they think if they touch the wrong place on the screen that it'll do something. You know what? It turned out that there was a company in Toronto back then called Tactile Vision Incorporated, and they had this neat process for making all sorts of diagrams and things that they did. There originally was, I don't know if you ever saw it, but for Windows 95 and Windows 7 and Vista, there was a woman from England named Sarah Morley who wrote these books, and with those books came a great thick thermoform volume with screenshots of all kinds of Windows screens. You know,
wow,
Microsoft
really?
Word open
with
3
neat.
Documents. Huh?
That sounds neat.
It was.
Do you do some of the screenshots as far as the push and pop menus?
We haven't done that yet because I'm sorry, we're too poor to own any devices that do that, so we don't have any direct experience with it yet.
Lesson-wise, how far does it go? By the end of this book, or it sounds like an experience to me, if it's in Braille and print, you can fill the diagrams and stuff. Are there videos too?
Let me tell the whole history of the book real quickly so you'll understand. Initially, this started out, I said to these folks in Toronto, I have some ideas, like if people knew what the home screen looked like and that there was a status bar across the top and a dock across the bottom, and if they understood that there was a split screen for settings or just different things that are hard for maybe a non-visual person to get at first, I said to these guys, make me some diagrams, and we did half a dozen diagrams for major things that you need to know about your phone. And I started using them in the lessons and going, okay, you can flick on your phone all you want, but now I want you to flick about, and as you flick about with one hand, I want you to feel around this diagram, and I want you to tell me where on the screen the thing is that you just flick to. I want you to find it on the diagram. And what I noticed is that people looking at these diagrams as they played with their phone started to develop visual memory of where things were on the screen, and they started understanding that they could zip from point A to point B on the phone just like they could zip from point A to point B on the diagram.
So
I call ear-hand coordination. Everybody's always talking about having good eye-hand coordination with voice-over feedback. Why shouldn't we have good ear-hand coordination?
That's true. And technically spatial memory.
Exactly.
You've done it, by Jove.
Oh my! Well, you know why we use we need to use an embosser that has that can handle cut sheets. Because I'll tell you, originally these books were done, and we actually sold about 900 of them through National Braille Press a while ago.
Wow.
That was for iOS 6 and iOS 7. But then we moved, and the company we worked with changed hands, and a whole bunch of stuff happened. And, you know, when you're working with a company to produce this stuff, you need to be able to sit down beside them, and that couldn't work anymore when they moved to Ottawa and we moved to Victoria. We sort of opposite-ended the country, and that was that. So we decided, let's make our own. So my dear partner, who is very brilliant, I said, we're going to buy an Everest D4 embosser, and we're going to buy Tactile View software, which is the tactile graphic software, and we're going to get duct spray. We're going to do this ourselves. He said, okay, if you think we can do it, I'll figure it out. And he figured out how to work this. I know nothing about producing this stuff by myself. Somebody else has to do it.
So
I just
a side person is doing all of this?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. Can I have one, please?
Now, what we did, I said, you know, we did an iOS 8 book. And it didn't sell very well through National Braille Press, but it was Braille only, and we gave it some silly name like Feelogram.
There's one blind person who listens to NPR who's going to go out and buy that book because you've disturbed them with that title.
Probably. So anyway, it was a marketing error, but you know what? One of the things in entrepreneurialism is instead of getting freaked out by your mistakes, you learn from them, and you build on it. So we said, okay, no more just feel and see. So all the videos on the website are listed under a link called Old Videos, and they are the feel and see iOS 8 videos, but they pretty much apply to iOS 9, and they're still excellent teaching tools. And when we have time, we will definitely be working on a new set. Right now there are 29 videos. There's one for each diagram in the old book telling you how to teach it, how to use it, and of course it's all hooked up with voiceover so that
nice.
By the time you listen to the video, hear what the voiceover is doing on the video, and feel the diagrams, you really do have a total multimedia experience going on for learning. On www.ihabilitation.com.
Or you can say the I in yourself, because you don't have to wait for rehab to come.
Well, you know, because I used to be a rehab teacher, one of my objectives for the future is if we really get this going and I have extra money to hire other people to help and work and do videos, I'm actually thinking of changing that whole website to iHabilitation, as in I can help myself, and doing a lot more independent living skill stuff, and then moving the whole book
with
thing
your
over
iPhone
to the feelandse.com site. And www.feelnse, like FEELNSEE.com is the link where you can go right to the shopping cart. You can get the three versions, the tactile, the dual mode version, the tactile and braille, is $30. The braille only version is $25, and we do a large print only version for $20, and you may wonder why, but this has been suggested by the folks at the Canadian Helen Keller Centre in Toronto, and they like it because they have a lot of deaf-blind people who are quite low vision, and they can't see the screen of their iPhone, but they can look at these diagrams. It's a lot faster than sitting there trying to sign it and explain.
feelandse.com. That was very clever of you, just on the border of R-rated.
Okay, well, there's a contact link on the website, or tom@ihabilitation.ca. So you can get the website by .com or .ca, but tom@ihabilitation.ca. There's an iHabilitation Canada page on Facebook. You can actually look up iHabilitation on Skype and get us that way. I'm on LinkedIn.
I'm actually thinking about getting the dual one because that would be a good teaching tool for me if I'm teaching somebody who's visually impaired.
Well, that's precisely why it was invented, and I'm sure that you know Braille. I mean, the whole point is...
I know of it.
The point is that's precisely why we invented the dual mode, because now any Apple Store trainer, any sighted friend, relative, colleague, anybody who gets this book in their paws, a sighted person can go around with this book and help blind people learn to use their iPhones, literally.
Or reverse.
Yep, exactly. I've actually turned on voiceover on sighted people's phones and started showing them how to use voiceover. And I know sighted people who now actually have voiceover on some of the time when they make sure that they don't touch things by accident. Another thing I really want to promote is the whole iPhone Eyes Free thing, because with universal design, everything can work in any direction for anybody. And imagine how many sighted people would think it was cool to develop this sixth sense where they had a set of Aftershock headphones on. They could still hear everybody talking to them. They got their Aftershock headphones on, and they know how to use voiceover, so their phone's in their pocket. So here's a sighted person. Any way they want to use their phone or connect with the internet without anybody knowing it. I mean, this is something they should be teaching in the military. Don't they teach them all kinds of cool stuff, how to function at night without seeing and this sort of thing? Enter voiceover. So I think the whole idea is that voiceover has the potential to be a much more mainstream product than people realize.
Yeah, I was talking to Sally, and I need to get this book here. I don't even know why I want to get it, but I don't know anything.
Shh.
Oh, sorry.
This is a library.
I'm sorry. I need to get this book, and I'm really nervous about this engagement. And
shh.
Sorry.
I understand you're getting engaged. Pass me the book about your...
Yeah, sure. Here you go.
Getting engaged for dummies?
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed about it.
I could tell you everything you need about it.
You hear that, guys? She's probably been married a few times.
Do you want the book then?
Of course I still want the book. I mean, I don't know anything about engagements, especially where to get a ring or anything decorative.
I do know where to get a ring.
You do?
Just call Mitchell.
Call who? Dib's not in a new company, huh? I don't know anything about it. Now I'm in the tricking business.
And Betzer is a company that basically sells jewelry. I mean, why pay so much if it's already a crime when you can call in Betzer and get exactly what you want?
Lady, you probably just saved me a lot of reading and a lot of dope.
You want to customize reasonable prices.
Hey, that's great. I could order some stuff for my niece for her Mardi Gras parade.
I love it myself. I'm always on their site.
Lady, this is the library. Embezzle. Because it's not a crime. www.nbezel.com.
Here's an interview with Oreo co-creator, already in progress.
Compared to a newspaper, if I get my news, if I do a Google search, I can get news on a keyword.
Right.
If I go out and buy a newspaper and I read or I listen to the front page, I'm going to get some news on things I wasn't expecting and maybe things I wasn't looking for.
Right.
So Varel today is the front page of the newspaper, and the feedback we're getting is if we start doing groups, there's a concern that we won't have the chance to, we won't be as likely to meet things and meet ideas and meet people
right
outside of our particular existing community. So what we did is the Ask Me tab, I think went live a couple days ago. The Ask Me tab, we can choose a few keywords. Here are things that I have expertise in or I have experience in, and I'm open to being asked questions on these few things, and that'll become searchable by name or by talent. So maybe that way, and maybe with some filtering, we want to make it easier for people for all of us to find the content that is of most interest to us, but we want to maintain and increase the diversity in the community.
Wow. It sounds like you guys have really thought about that. You know, each little baby step has a lot of research behind it.
Yeah, one way to say we've thought about it a lot, and the second way to say is the community has thought about it a lot. There are thousands of messages that have helped us think about it. And that's kind of the issue. Sometimes we do things without thinking enough, but there's so much feedback from the beta team and from the community. The community feedback has generated over 500 tech issues, and over 100 of them we're still implementing. There's a lot of talent, and when you go into Varel, it's every day you get it's a wow moment when we run into all these talented folks sharing their talent.
It just amazes me that and not to say that there aren't people who have done it, but the fact that sighted people are taking interest in making apps that, well, one, they can use, and two, that can help different communities in general, grow and either meet new people, like you said, or find people that you haven't heard from in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think the internet and technology is about putting us on equal footing. So no matter where we are in the world, no matter if we think we're too skinny or too heavy, or if we're visually impaired or sighted or blind, we're all, if technology is done well, we're all on equal footing in the internet or in a good app.
That's true. In your own definition, how, if no one's ever heard or seen Varel, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I'd go to the community. I've done it before. I've done the Ask All. How do we describe Varel in one sentence? Because I've heard in the Ask Alls people say, my friend told me about this, and I thought another audio app. Who needs that? So I didn't go out and get it, and then I had another friend tell me about it, and eventually I downloaded it, and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, that's the same way I was feeling because how did I hear about you guys? Actually, now that I think about it, it was an Applevis podcast. Scott Davard was the one who demoed it. Now that I think about it, and he's a pretty good guy. He's actually on there on Varel, and he does a lot of good podcasts. And like in most times, that was one of the times that I was happy about having Varel and him being on it, because I heard him giving a response to something. I can't remember which question it was, but I thanked him because he definitely saved my butt a few times with some podcasts and learning. So I thought, well, this could be like Haytel or Audio Boo or something to that effect, but it's a lot better. It's a lot better to me.
Yeah, I have the same feeling, the same experience. It's almost like what Google has done for the internet, connecting all these diverse points into something that's got the user interface that we can connect to the things, the information that we need to in an easy fashion. And there's so much different knowledge in the Varel community and things we would never expect. There was someone who did a post on Ask All about the benefits of coconut oil. I've never thought of. I know we can cook with coconut oil. I've never thought of using it on my body.
Yeah.
And I heard her post, and I heard the answers. And I went out and bought some coconut oil, and I use it every day now. It's great.
Well, hey, Varel may save the economy, you know.
For your audience,
yes.
I think Varel is only something we understand when we experience it. It's a special community like nowhere else that I've seen on the internet, and we do everything we can to protect everybody's privacy. The app never asks for a phone number, never asks for an email. You turn on your Apple device, download the device, and download the app, and you're good. You go right to the feed, and then you can start listen to the Ask Alls, maybe post an answer, and if you choose to, you can join the conversation. But it goes to your earlier question, is there one sentence that captures the essence of Varel? How do you describe the different wines? I could say fruity or sweet or sour, however wines are described, but you really have to taste. It's the fragrance and it's the taste. And you've got to do the same thing for Varel. And the other thing I need to thank you and thank the community, because Varel, everything good about Varel is because of you and other members of Varel that are sharing, contributing. In this, one person has called it the dialogue of life. We're sharing our lives and we're finding new people and new knowledge. And it's all because of you and the other members of Varel. So our thanks goes to you.
Well, thank you very much. And I do have one other question, though. What does, if anything, Varel stands for? Is it two words put together? Or, I mean, how did you all come up with the name for that app?
My answer is Varel is going to mean how the community defines Varel. Varel will mean what the community makes of it. The origin of Varel, on our team we have two different recollections. One recollection is that each letter stands for something. Like the V is for voice, O for only, R for either relationships or real time. In the beginning, Varel had a tool to do 3-minute real-time conversations. Mm-hmm. So the R was for real time. And that's one recollection. My recollection is this combination, the start of one word and the end of another word. So we knew we wanted to be voice only. Yeah. So we took the VO from voice, and then we're going to Varel, and we start in a public forum and we work our way toward private messaging. And the private messaging to me, that's like creating trails between people.
Right.
So the end of trails is rail. Voice, trail, rail. That's my recollection. If we don't have consensus on that within our team, how we actually create a name, but it's not a word. And when other people hear Varel, what they associate with Varel is going to be determined by the community.
Dialogue level was 11 dB 300. Dialogue level was 11. Slider 85. Dialogue slider 0.
Okay, gotcha.
Dialogue slider 0. That's like that pause button.
Well, that's almost close to where I thought it was coming from. I thought, maybe it's VO stands for voiceover, and it goes from there. Thank you for letting me interview you.
That's something that's worth talking about.
Yeah, like you said, someone said it's the dialogue of life. So I'm guessing before the end of this year, or even before the end of the summer, Varel's going to have a tagline for it.
Dialogue of life is a nice one. Sometimes, I'm not sure if you use the play all, but when I'm doing chores around the house, sometimes I'll do the play all.
Yeah.
And I'll just listen to one answer question after another, and it's the dialogue of life.
Yeah.
Voice is incredible. Voice is a little bit like music, and it touches our soul, I think. We call it information with emotion. It's like text, but it's got the emotion and the feeling. It's got the context. And then the searchability, at some point we'll be able to computer transcribe everything, all the questions and answers, and then we'll be able to search them easier.
Oh,
and
wow.
we will be this either probably early next month. We'll have the like an answer, like a question.
Oh, okay. That'd be cool.
And then so that'll be separate from liking a person, and then that way, if we all start liking particular questions, then there's a lot in the feed that we miss. But we could have what's the word? Kind of a summary. There's another word for it. But we could take by day, by week, by month, the most liked questions or the most liked answers.
You mean like a digest mode?
Digest, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah. So thank you. There you go. The community figuring it out again. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness for the community. We'll have a digest mode where if we have less time or we just want the highlights, we can hear the questions and answers that are most favored by the community.
Another thing I'm impressed about, not everybody gets to talk to a developer that has such a good app.
That's a two-way street. Not every developer gets to talk to people in such a great community.
Well, I'd definitely love to chat more, but I have a few messages to check.
Thanks for listening to today's Tech Cove. We hope you've enjoyed today's program. Tune in again next week at the same time for another edition with Sean Hosbury.